cosmic horror, a genre that taps into our deepest fears of the unknown, the unknowable, and the insignificance of humanity in the vast universe. While most horror stories focus on monsters you can fight or outrun, cosmic horror tells you one thing: you can't escape, you can't understand it, and worst of all, it doesn't even care that you exist. For decades, authors like H.P. Lovecraft have warned us about the terrifying truths lurking beyond our perception: ancient entities, forgotten dimensions, and realities so complex that they can shatter the human mind. But what if I told you that one recent TV show has captured the essence of cosmic horror almost perfectly? Today we'll dive deep into From, a series that at first glance might seem like just another survival horror story. But look closer and you'll find something far more unsettling. A world trapped in an endless cycle, entities beyond comprehension, and rules that defy logic. A town that feels like it's straight out of Lovecraft's nightmares. So get ready, because what you're about to hear might just keep you up at night. This is From, explained through the lens of cosmic horror. Let's begin. Alright, let's talk about From. On the surface, it might seem like your typical survival horror show, people trapped in a mysterious town, trying to find a way out. But trust me, this place is far worse than anything you've ever seen. Imagine driving down a road, minding your own business, and then you end up here. No signs, no explanations, and the worst part, you can't leave. No matter how many times you try to drive out, walk through the forest, or follow someone else's route, you always end up right back where you started. But being stuck is only the beginning, because when night falls, that's when the real nightmare begins. At sunset, they come out, smiling, whispering, calling your name. And if you make the mistake of letting them in, well, let's just say you won't live to see another sunrise. The creatures that haunt this town aren't just your typical monsters. No, they're far worse. They take on the faces of people you've lost. Loved ones, old friends, familiar faces. They knock on your door, whisper sweet words, and beg you to let them inside. But once you do, there's no turning back. They don't just kill you, they tear you apart, slowly and painfully, leaving nothing but horror behind. What makes them even more terrifying? They're not random. These entities inhabit the bodies of the deceased, people who once lived in the town, and perhaps people you once knew. They remember things, they know your weaknesses, and they'll use every memory, every ounce of trust to manipulate you, until you make the fatal mistake of trusting them. That's why the town has rules, strict rules. Lock your doors before sunset, never talk to them, and under no circumstances ever open a window at night. One wrong move, and it's over. But here's the real kicker. No one knows what they really are. Are they ghosts? Are they demons? Or are they something far worse? Something beyond human comprehension? And this is where From dives into true cosmic horror, because the deeper you go, the more you realize. This town isn't just a prison. It's something much darker, something ancient, something that feeds off fear, isolation, and despair. So the question is, can anyone survive this nightmare? Or is the town just waiting to claim its next victim? Alright, let's get into it. Beneath the surface of this eerie town, there's something much bigger at play. Something that taps directly into the core of Lovecraftian horror. If you've been paying attention, you'll notice the patterns, the isolation, the existential dread, the creeping realization that no matter what you do, you are completely powerless. And that's exactly the kind of horror that Lovecraft mastered. Fear of the unknown, the cosmic insignificance of humanity, and the unsettling idea that forces beyond our comprehension are at work. First, let's talk about the town itself. It's not just a setting, it's a cosmic prison, much like Lovecraft's infamous cities, Innsmouth, Arkham, or the alien ruins at the Mountains of Madness. This place follows a logic that feels wrong. Roads lead nowhere, the forest stretches endlessly, and time itself seems to lose meaning. This distortion of space and reality is straight out of Lovecraft's playbook, where the world is governed by forces that defy human understanding. In Lovecraft's work, once you step into a place like this, You're not just lost, you've crossed into a realm where human rules no longer apply, and escape is an illusion. And then there are the creatures. These things aren't your typical monsters. They don't chase you down like in other horror stories. No. They whisper, smile, and manipulate. They wear the faces of the dead, people you loved, people you trusted. Sound familiar? That's because Lovecraft's horror often revolves around the idea that the familiar can become unfamiliar. In stories like The Shadow over Innsmouth, people slowly transform into monstrous beings, while in The Whisperer in Darkness, a trusted friend might not be who they claim to be. The creatures in the town operate the same way. What you thought you knew is no longer safe, and that uncertainty is terrifying. Their method of killing is also deeply Lovecraftian. They don't just break in and end it quickly. No, they toy with their victims, drawing out their deaths in a gruesome, almost ritualistic way. The slow, creeping horror of being deceived, manipulated, and then utterly destroyed mirrors Lovecraft's idea that true horror isn't about blood and gore, but about the slow realization that you were never in control in the first place. Then there's the symbolism of the talismans. These strange symbols placed on doors to ward off the monsters echo Lovecraft's obsession with arcane knowledge. Symbols, books, and spells that barely hold back the horrors lurking just outside. In The Dunwich Horror, or The Call of Cthulhu, characters use ancient runes and forbidden texts to delay the inevitable. Just like the residents of the town, they cling to their fragile protections, knowing deep down that they're only delaying the inevitable. The talismans represent humanity's feeble attempts to hold back forces they don't understand. And if Lovecraft taught us anything, it's that such attempts are always temporary. And then there's the forest, a dark, endless void that surrounds everything, swallowing anyone who strays too far. Lovecraft's settings are often vast and incomprehensible. Deep oceans, dark caverns, ancient alien ruins, places where humanity's presence feels small and insignificant. The forest in this show works the same way. It's more than just trees, it's an abyss, a representation of the unknown. In Lovecraft's stories, the deeper you go into such places, the closer you get to forbidden knowledge, and the closer you are to madness. And that brings us to perhaps the most terrifying connection of all, the idea of cosmic indifference. In Lovecraft's world, humanity is insignificant. The universe doesn't care about us, and whatever intelligence lies beyond our understanding, it certainly isn't benevolent. This town embodies that concept perfectly. It doesn't care who you are, where you came from, or what you want. You're just another pawn in an unfathomable game. The monsters aren't evil in the way we understand evil. They simply are. They exist, and you are irrelevant. Just like in Lovecraft's mythos, the true horror isn't in the creatures themselves, but in the overwhelming realization that you don't matter. The cyclic nature of the town, the illusion of hope, and the crushing realization that there might be no way out. This is classic Lovecraftian horror. It's not about escaping a monster. It's about understanding that escape might never have been an option. And that's the beauty of it. Just like in Lovecraft's universe, the more you search for answers, the closer you get to the truth. And the truth, it's worse than anything you could have imagined. There's a theory in cosmic horror that fits disturbingly well with From. It's called the cosmic prisoner theory, and it suggests that human existence, our choices, our beliefs, and even our perception of reality is nothing more than an illusion carefully constructed by forces beyond our understanding to keep us trapped in an endless cycle. This theory, popularized by scholars and enthusiasts of Lovecraftian horror, builds upon H.P. Lovecraft's recurring themes of existential entrapment, cosmic indifference, and the terrifying insignificance of human will. First introduced in the analysis of Lovecraft's works such as The Shadow Out of Time and The Whisperer in Darkness, the cosmic prisoner theory posits that humanity is not the master of its own fate. Instead, we are prisoners in a reality designed and manipulated by entities so vast and incomprehensible that our struggle to break free is, at best, a tragic delusion. In From, this theory takes a disturbingly literal form. The town is not just a place where people are physically trapped. It's a perfect representation of existential confinement. No matter how much the characters try to escape, they always end up back where they started. This eerie looping of events mirrors the central idea of the cosmic prisoner theory. that the perception of control is nothing but a carefully placed illusion, and true escape is impossible. Lovecraft's stories often feature protagonists who, despite their best efforts, fall deeper into cosmic mysteries that strip them of their sanity and autonomy. Just like in The Call of Cthulhu, where the more knowledge the protagonist gains, the closer they come to their inevitable doom. The characters in From slowly realize that their fate was sealed long before they ever arrived in the town. The creatures lurking at night reinforce this sense of imprisonment. They don't just hunt or attack in the conventional sense. They manipulate, deceive, and lure. They take on the faces of loved ones, whispering things only they would know, offering false hope in exchange for deadly mistakes. This echoes Lovecraft's idea that the most horrifying threats are not those that chase us, but those that know us. The creatures are not simply predators. They are evidence that something, or someone, has been watching the town's inhabitants for a very long time, studying them, understanding them, and using their own emotions against them. And this brings us to an even darker thought. What if the town isn't a prison at all, but an experiment? In Lovecraft's mythos, entities like the Great Old Ones or the Outer Gods play with humanity as one might with ants, not out of malice, but simply out of indifference. The characters in From may not be victims of random misfortune. They could be unwitting subjects of a grander cosmic experiment, carefully observed and tested under rules they cannot comprehend. This ties into another core idea of the cosmic prisoner theory, the illusion of free will. The characters believe they have choices, to stay, to leave, to resist, to fight. But what if every action they take is part of a predetermined script? Much like in Lovecraft's The Shadow over Innsmouth, where the protagonist's fate was sealed long before he discovered the town's dark secrets, the residents of From may never have had any real agency in their lives to begin with. The forest surrounding the town is another manifestation of cosmic horror, an endless, unknowable void that seems to exist outside of time and space. In Lovecraft's works, remote locations often conceal ancient and malevolent truths, and venturing too deep into them usually results in madness or worse. The forest represents the unknown in its purest form, a place where reality itself breaks down, and those who enter it rarely return the same. And here's where things get even more unsettling. What if the town is just a reflection of our own world? The cosmic prisoner theory suggests that real-life existence operates under the same principle. The illusion of choice, of purpose, of meaning. It's all part of a construct far beyond human comprehension. In From, the rules are explicit. Stay inside at night. Don't let them in. Follow the rituals. But in our own reality, the rules are far more subtle, hidden within the structures of society, time, and even our own psychology. At its core, the cosmic prisoner theory is not just about horror, it's about a terrifying truth. What if we were never truly free to begin with? If everything we do is governed by unseen forces, if every choice is an illusion, then what does it truly mean to exist? This is the real horror lurking beneath From. It's not just about survival, it's about the slow, creeping realization that escape was never an option. And perhaps, just like in Lovecraft's stories, the worst part isn't being trapped. The worst part is discovering that you were never outside to begin with. So, what does all of this mean? From isn't just another survival horror story. It's a chilling exploration of one of the most terrifying ideas in cosmic horror, the illusion of free will and the inescapable grasp of forces beyond our understanding. The town, the creatures, the endless cycles of hope and despair. They all serve as a grim reminder that no matter how much we struggle, we may never truly be in control of our fate. Like in Lovecraft's tales, the horror in From doesn't just come from what lurks outside our doors, but from the slow, creeping realization that everything we know, our memories, our choices, our very sense of self, might just be part of an elaborate cosmic game. And in the end, maybe the greatest horror isn't being trapped, but realizing we were never free to begin with. But the question remains, who or what is really pulling the strings? Is the town part of some experiment? A manifestation of something much older and darker than we can comprehend? Or is it simply the universe reminding us of our insignificance? Whatever the answer is, one thing is clear: no one escapes. If you've enjoyed this dive into the cosmic horror lurking beneath From, and want to keep exploring the depths of the unknown, Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. There's so much more to uncover, and trust me, the darkness goes even deeper than you think. Until next time, stay vigilant and remember, don't let them in.